Hello everyone, Night Diver 5 here, and I want to do another video here outlining all the things that I've put together in the last few videos all in one place. If you want to see the details, if I miss anything, you can go back and watch the last few videos I've done. But this is what I think people should be talking about. If I'm wrong, let me know I'm wrong. But Daniel chapter 8 verses 13 and 14 is the biggest clue on timing, on end times timing, and no one, not anyone that I can find, ever talks about it. And it is specifically the 2,300 days that the last temple is open for business and then cleansed. That 2,300 day period shows you exactly where everything else has to fall into place. So let me look at my notes here. All right, so first of all, I've also shown that the last 7 years will start in the fall. Why? Because Christ returns in the fall to fulfill the 3 fall feasts. Back up 7 years, and the last 7 years has to start in the fall. What else happens in the fall? Well, we have the fall feasts, obviously, right? But we also have the UN General Assembly, which opens sometime in September and goes through sometime in October, depending on the year. Now, I believe that the many in Daniel 9:27 is the UN General Assembly. Just as they created Israel in 1947, they're going to divide Israel and create the Palestinian nation state. The trade-off is the Jews are going to get a piece of the Temple Mount to build their temple. And that is, okay, in our media we know that as the two-state solution, but I believe that is what the Daniel 9:27 covenant will be. Meaning, the day that the Daniel 9:27 covenant is confirmed, the Jews will get the right to build their temple. Now, Daniel 8, verses 13 and 14, the angel is telling Daniel that the end times temple will open for business. Sacrifices will go on. They will be stopped by the abomination that causes desolation. The temple will be treaded on by the Gentiles for 42 months, and then it will be cleansed. So those 2,300 days end at the same time as the 2,520 days of the full last 7 years. What does that mean? That means that there's 220 days between the beginning of the last 7 years and the time the temple opens for business. So that answers several questions. When will the temple be built? It will not be built pre-rapture. It will not be built pre-trib. It will begin to be built the day the covenant is created, and 220 days later, it will open. Now, understanding that the last 7 years happens in fall, I started messing around with a date calculator. If you go from Rosh Hashanah of 2023 to Passover 2024, it's 220 days. That means if the last 7 years start this fall, 220 days later, on Passover, would be the grand opening for the temple. Now remember, that's a different year in our calendar, but it's not a different year for the Jews. That's in the same year. If that means anything, if that has any significance, I'm not sure. However, now if that happens, that 220 days happens also for 2024 and 2025. But Rosh Hashanah happens in 2024 before the UN General Assembly opens. What does that mean? That means that it can't be that year. If my timing theory here is correct, it can't be that year. So that means it's either 2023 or 2025. I have a hard time seeing us be here for another 2 full years. So I'm looking at this Rosh Hashanah as being the start of the last 7 years. I also believe strongly in a pre-tribulation rapture, and I look every year for the rapture to be on what we call Pentecost. Not the exact date. I don't think we can trust calendars, but around that time period, right? 50 days after what should be first fruits is a second first fruits. And again, the first fruits was a resurrection event. That's when Christ came out of the grave. The second first fruits should be a resurrection event. And in this first fruits, if you read Leviticus 23, they are to wave 2 loaves of bread. This has leaven in it. I believe that's a picture of the rapture. So again, I don't think that the rapture was fulfilled in Acts chapter 2. I think it opened in Acts chapter 2. And I think it ends with the rapture. I think Pentecost has been going on for this whole time, 2,000 years, or the church age, or the time of grace, however you want to call it. And I think that it's going to be this year. Now, God didn't tell me that. I'm just going by information that I see, timing that I see, and sequences that I see. Okay? That answers another question, though. You watch these prophecy shows with all these pastors, and no one can tell you how much time there is in between the rapture and the last 7 years. I believe it's going to be about 4 months. The difference between whenever Pentecost, the true Pentecost is, and whenever Rosh Hashanah is. All right? That time difference. That's what I believe, about 4 months that the Antichrist will have to raise up, claim to be the Messiah, do a miracle or two, whatever he's going to do, and lead the Jews into that 7-year covenant. All right? So that is my timing theory. Now, I have written this to everyone that you can imagine. Tom Hughes, James Cadiz, you name it. All the people that you watch on YouTube. And I've gotten almost zero response. I've gotten Mark Biltz at least responded kindly. A few other channels have responded sort of kindly, but basically just nothing, no response. Not Amir Zavardi, Jan Markell, Jack Hibbs, Hal Lindsey called me a date setter. And again, I'm not setting a date. I'm just looking at a pattern. This is not the Word of God. This is I'm just speculating on what I see. Okay, so but I would like this to be out there so that people can talk about it. Show me if I'm wrong. The biggest key to all of this is Daniel 8 verses 13 and 14. And it's almost not even the 2,300 days that are there. It's the 220 that's not even spoken about. The first part, the first 220 days, that is missing from the 2,520. That's what put it all together. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave comments and questions, and please share this. Thank you. Bye-bye.